A pastor in Albuquerque taught what we say to other people and how he treats people that come to say something bad about somebody to him. And the first question he asks, which I actually learned back when I was probably about 28, was, if you tell me anything, I'm gonna tell that other person what and who said what. So basically, we're going to have a conversation with everybody. There's no back door sniping. You know what a sniper is, right? From a distance, you shoot someone. So, pardon? Well, he had another one, and I didn't have the time to find it. But it's basically walks through, is this true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? If it's not, I don't want to hear it. And if it isn't, I'm going to go have that conversation with that other person on the who and what they said. So the pastor asks, do you want to proceed? You know what the answer is most of the time? No. You have got to be kidding. I don't want to proceed. Oops, wrong way. So we're going to, for a few people here, we're going to cover last week as a 10,000-foot flyover. Communication is best practiced when you're not under stress. And then, if you are under stress, we seek pleasure and avoid pain, but we prioritize the pain. Have you dealt with your pain? Rhetorical question. If you haven't, you probably are having bitterness and anger, and that's not a good thing. So how do you get the pain? People just keep thinking about, and people get weird, and that's the bitterness and anger and other behaviors. Hopefully you move over to the forgiveness. But by the way, forgiveness does not mean you have to forget that somebody did something really wrong. You have to say, that needs to stop, but I need to trust you, and the trust comes with time and behavior. Okay. Gottman says there are four bad things that cause divorces. Probably the foremost relationship expert in the world right now, highly recognized. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Dr. Satire says that she has four. Placating, the yes person. Blaming, you. Computing, but never admits fault. I got a lot of faults, so let's not be silly. And distracting. Oh, I don't like this conversation. You remember when you were 3 years old and let's see, I'm going to make something accurate. Remember when I was in first grade and you pushed me off the hood of a Jeep and I have a scar in the back of my head, which is why my hair's a little longer in the back. So you're not even addressing the fact, you're actually bouncing to, well, you're a whatever, and remember way back when. So, pain and suffering and adverse situation builds strength. Do you think a person can go to Lake Powell and kayak 4 days in a row, 4 hours a day, and about 8 to 10 miles a time if they haven't sat on Monument Lake and kayaked to build the strength? So the adversity or the strain builds the wrong button pushing. Okay. So this is a question for the tables. And I want you guys to make a list. And so I'm going to let one table cover what stressors there are in people's lives, and the other table will add to that. But then that table will get to talk about how do you relieve stress. And then the other one will add to things that we're missing in the list. So go ahead and talk about what causes people stress, and then make a separate list of how do you relieve that stress. I bet you can't guess how I relieve my stress. It didn't matter. Biking, hiking, kayaking, 4.5 hours of pickleball, killing the ball, politely. No, there's no politely. So talk about what causes people stress, make a list, and I may not pick that same one, So go ahead and make the list. Talk amongst yourselves. Yes.
What do you guys think?
Video. Yeah, there ain't no video. And I may be stupid enough to repeat it so other people can hear it and the interwebs can also. So help me out. Oh, by the way, except for that, what gets said in here stays in here. And if you don't, if that doesn't happen, I'll talk to you, especially if I'm leading. We'll talk if I hear you guys sharing out of school. Okay? Well,
I think that's funny.
if
Except for being on the World Wide Web, it stays in here.
So it gets to them right away afterwards.
if you don't want it to go on the interwebs, tell Rick and he'll tell me, and I will watch for people bad-mouthing people behind their backs, and or sharing things that they shouldn't be sharing. Yeah, John's worried about all kind of things behind his back. He's looking right now. The happiest couples can talk about difficult subjects and feel they understand each other when they are honest with each other and resolve conflicts. So we'll start with this table. What's on your list of stressors?
How about if I read? We talked about finance, money. That's a big one. Workplace conflict, problems at work, or conversely, underemployment.
Yep.
Too much work or underemployment, and workplace conflict.
Since I'm retired, I'm kind of enjoying the under-retirement.
I hear you. Driving can cause stress.
Never.
Never.
You want to see
How
who?
about this?
You want to see who that? You want to see who the person you're with or interested in is like? Have them drive for a while. Go ahead.
How about family?
No,
Specifically-
family, never. They're always have these angelic halos over everybody's head.
Especially at the holidays. How many of us sat with somebody that just, tweaks your buttons a little bit?
Yep.
And
they know how.
they know how. How about loss of a loved one? Divorce or death or the passing of a loved one? That's a source. Those are the sources of stress that we came up with.
Okay. Does this table have any additional ones?
Being a Christian, job hunting, looking for a partner. Don't read my writing either. Attitudes, people, disagreement.
Good. Looking for a partner is easy. When I purchase a dog, I have a 15-point dog test. My group in Albuquerque, I have the Myers-Briggs. How do you fall? I have a bunch of extra handouts up here if you're interested in them. But my group in Albuquerque said, Mark, do you perform a 15-point dog test on a potential interested? And I said, no. I said, no. Verbal versus nonverbal? I said, no. Of course, everybody does that. You have your list of questions, all that stuff. So we're testing everyone all the time. Any additional?
You said looking for a partner. Okay,
It's on
my
my list.
number one, having a partner.
Having a partner.
Okay, that one.
If you need a partner, go down to Monument Valley Park. Anytime it's above 40 degrees, there'll be 80 people there, and we'll pair you up with someone to play pickleball.
I have a partner. She's got 4 legs.
Well, did you use the dog test?
I came around.
Do you guys have any additional?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
Well, that's probably good.
Goals. When something gets between me and a goal.
Yeah.
And that, I think that a lot of what was said over here can be kind of boiled down to that. We have a goal, and it's usually something with self-centered goal, and something gets in the way of it, and that's stress.
My psych professor, Psych 101, right out of high school in college, said the number one motivating thing for people is selfishness. And I said, so that matches the Bible, where man is basically sinful. I had to work very hard to counter that to get an A. Seriously. So this table, what do you do to relieve stress besides being hyper to exhaust yourself? Well, go driving. Good thing you drive a bus. Okay.
Not with Sean.
Wow. Someone threw Sean under the bus. Okay. Yeah, hold on. Go ahead, Kat.
Jesus, doing for others, singing, praying, exercise, driving, hiking, sightseeing in nature, beach, his word, listening to music, grandkids, reading, laughter.
Okay. Back table, anything to add to those? Cooking.
Praying, eating, yeah.
I like the one about listening to music. I like to play the guitar.
Yeah.
But realizing over the last year, my stress levels have went down because a lot of things that used to really stress me out, I look at it and I say, either God's going to handle it, or it's not important to God, and it shouldn't be important to me. Because most of the mountains we have
Yep.
are really not even as big as molehills, but we sure make it big.
No. We don't. You mean we let our imagination run wild? As someone said, I parted my hair funny and I imagined some big story behind it?
Okay, most people in here, that doesn't apply to it to me.
Okay. That's good that it doesn't apply to...
me.
Well, you part your hair in the middle.
Yes, I do.
So when I'm really stressed, I go to work when there's no kids
Ah,
in the entire building.
Yep.
And no staff,
yep.
and I paint.
People ask me why do I go to national parks in the dead of winter when there's feet of snow. No people, no bugs. Okay, this table, anything else to add to the stress relievers?
Well, people have mentioned exercising, hiking, or yoga. Interestingly,
Yogurt is very relaxing.
yoga,
Yogurt.
yogurt. Right. And coffee when nobody else is talking is very relaxing too. Okay. How about cleaning? Vacuuming or cleaning the closets was brought up.
Hey, no names. No names. Come on.
Writing
Yep.
is a form of expressing or sharing,
Yeah.
or fellowship, talking, just talking.
Yeah, fellowship is sharing a common life. Hopefully that is stress relieving.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's stress inducing.
How about finishing projects? Get a sense of a payoff, that gratification, something got done. That could
Stick
be
a fork in it.
Yeah, it's done.
Good. What?
But it's so imperfect yet.
If you look at my computing one from last week, there's actually a spelling error that's on purpose. I actually added it to my dictionary so that I can misspell that word on purpose.
I can't spell, so I would never find it.
Yeah.
And then when it gets done, I cross it off, and just the act of crossing it off is so wonderful.
So, by the way, I'm going to go back. They talk about understanding the differences between men and women. The differences between men and women when they're stressed. By the way, I have my notes from last time if you want them. They've got 1 page of notes and then 1 page of references. Men shut down, and people call. I think there's jokes about men in the nothing box. I don't have a nothing box, but I won't talk if someone's being a jerk. And then the next thing that men do when they're under more stress, they leave. Women, and this is Leslie Parrott's book, Saving Your Second Marriage, which is only 2 more questions than saving your marriage before it starts. The women get overwhelmed, and then they get emotional when the stress continues. And it's good if you're going to be in a friendship with a member of the opposite sex or same sex. Guys can be friends with guys, gals can be friends with gals, is to watch for that and help that person out of that state of mind and maybe even condition. So they say, Les and Leslie Parrott say, that communication is built on who you are, not what you do. Are you a mom, a dad, a sister, brother? You could be all of those things. A software engineer, a bulldozer operator, all salesperson, all kind of things. But that doesn't say who you are. And I have a friend who I've been talking to since I got the opportunity to be single again, who just sent me an article about Myers-Briggs and how you fall in love based on your personality type. If you want a copy, it's here. If you want a reference, I have all my reference notes here. Come up and get one. And be careful how you take the Myers-Briggs test. So let's say I test out as an extrovert, and I make all these assumptions. But what happens if this is extrovert and this is introvert? What happens if my extrovert is 5% into the extrovert range? Am I really an extrovert? No. Also, for me, my extrovert, I'm actually naturally probably a little bit more of an introvert, but doing this, I can't be. Or you guys would probably fall asleep. So I have to force myself to be an extrovert. So some people will change who they are in the context. So if you take Myers-Briggs, take it in the context of work, take it in the context of going to see your family, take it in the context of just sitting there by yourself and making all your own decisions, or in a context of a relationship. So be careful how you take that. Remember the percentages, and as we're out fellowshipping at meals and events and things, I'll be happy to talk to you about it to get a better understanding of how that fits as to who you are. I have a friend that tested out completely opposite of how he was, and over about a month's time talking about it, he said, yeah, I think I was actually lying to myself because I wanted to be something else. So he answered the questions how he wanted to be, not how he was. So there's those disconnects. So now they list the 4 bedrock emotions in successful communications. I hate these mail-order dentures. So warmth is number 1. It's choose to accept the person for who they are with all of their unacceptable qualities, and allow and invite them, and I added the word graceful, because grace is a gift, it's giving God's grace, them to be relaxed, free, and have peaceful communication. And it's, by the way, it is not accepting any behavior. So you can be warm to a person, and when they do something very, very wrong, you're allowed to not be warm, right? You're allowed to say that, no, you can't talk to me that way. That is unacceptable, and if that continues, then I will speak up and or disconnect. So there's ways to politely say, I don't like what you're doing, and you're going to stop. You don't have to do it in a bad way. When we're going to cover some of those. Who has Hebrews 10:24? This is my verse. It's been my verse since about last summerish. I pick a verse when it hits me, and there's some Romans ones here that I may move on to. Hebrews 10:24.
And let us consider one another to provoke and to love and to good works.
Yeah, provoke is either spur or encourage, depending on your translation. Wouldn't it be nice if all that we did was just to encourage one another to agape love and good works? Okay. By the way, the word accept is the same word to choose. Who has Proverbs 21:3? Is that? I didn't pass that out?
Yes, kind of slow.
Okay, thank you.
Righteousness and justice is desired by the Lord rather than sacrifice.
So he chooses you for righteousness and justice. Romans 12 through 14. John.
How about,
No, I got a bunch of Romans. I like Romans. Yeah. Go ahead,
we
Vicki.
have the same? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Got my readers out here. Okay. Rejoice in our confident hope, be patient in trouble, and keep on praying. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them.
So this whole latter half of the Romans 12 is talking about how love is expressed inside the body. The Bible actually differentiates quite often, dear brothers, do this thing. That means as Christians, we're going to do these things. It also says love your neighbor as yourself. And sometimes it ain't as easy as it looks on TV. But that means neighbor, which is just the person next to you. So that's outside and inside of the church. So it actually kind of grows. Genuineness is expressed in how you say and act in the relationship. So, 58% of communications is nonverbal. 58%. So let's say you're online and you find someone in Zimbabwe who really wants to get to know you. How much communications are you not going to have? Unless you do what? I have a friend that actually married someone. She was a Bible translator, Wycliffe Bible translator in Azerbaijan, and he was in Phoenix. They Skyped a lot, which helped a lot.
And they have translator software on your phone now.
She actually grew up in Phoenix. She's American, and she has a master's in linguistics, which is why she can translate. You want to talk to her about the Russian area of the world, Mongolia, and down to Persia, and what's the other? There's two, Iraq and Iran. One is Persia and one is
Iran is Persian.
yeah, but they're different cultures completely, and they've hated each other nearly forever. Phil.
But in terms of writing, sometimes that can be really helpful.
Okay, that's a good point. But how can writing be helpful? It could be.
Gives the person a chance to really think through what they're trying to say.
Slow down the hyperactive brain and put it in English.
A lot of times I'd rather write people than talk to them.
Has anyone read the book about John Adams by John McCullough? It's a tome. It's like, I don't know, 6. I read it in slow motion. The other one is the book on Lincoln. How do you think John McCullough was actually able to know who John Adams was? He was out from home. He was down from Boston, and he and his wife, Abigail, I think, wrote a lot of letters. I mean, when I say a lot, I think he wrote to her almost every day. So that actually documents things. And be careful what you write. Just saying. Just saying.
So reply and texting is the way to go?
Okay.
Let's transition and move on.
No. I have straws. You're going to drink a boba tea with what looks like eyeballs in the bottom, but it's, what is that? Tapioca. Right? Do you want a boba straw? Or do you want to text someone? I think you will have eyeballs popping out if you try and pull up one of those tapioca things with the straw. 35% is tone.
Intonation, yeah.
You did that. You did that. You did that.
Wow.
You did that. Whoa. 7% is the actual words. If you can slow down, what'd you say?
Ginger's been a bad girl. That's what it is.
Wow. So, what type of straw do you want to communicate? 7%, I was going to get, you know where a swizzle stick is? Sometimes they have those little teeny tiny holes in them. I was going to get a swizzle stick for just the words. I just didn't have time to get the swizzle stick. So how do you want to communicate? In person, not in person? Things are very... and they say that people are very good truth detectors. And the closer you get to someone, the quicker you can be a truth detector. Because you can detect that little movement in the mouth when someone says something not nice and the person is stuffing instead of saying, wow. Wow is one of my favorite words. Pardon?
Let me just touch your ear for a second. It's like, oh, it's telling me a different.
Or
Oh, that's a tell?
Yeah.
Really?
Some people it is.
Well, I'm a very honest person. Oh,
Yeah,
nonverbal? Verbal.
We've known that about you for a long time.
So I'm not a good truth detector because I'm a geek and I did big data and the people part shrunk. So I love the geek world because we're like, we just say it. You part your hair funny and move on. So who has Proverbs? Oh, the list of Proverbs, 17:4, 27:6, and 19:22. That was a good year. Tina, remember this is about genuineness or honesty.
Proverbs 17:4, an evildoer gives heed to false lips, a liar listens eagerly to a spiteful tongue.
And then 27, or go to 19:22, it'll be easier, or however you have it.
19:22, what is desired in a man is kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar.
A what? A poor man is, better than a liar. Ow. 27:6. And whoever has Romans 12:9, cue up.
Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful.
I want to pull that thread a little bit. Could you speak up a little more? What does this verse mean?
Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful.
If I'm your friend and I tell you the truth and you're messed up, that'll help you. But if I'm not your friend, oh man, you just think you're so good, you know, it doesn't help you at all.
So I eat a lot of dogs and sodas at Costco. And I liken it to saying to the person I'm eating the dog and a soda with is, you have mustard on your nose. Well, what happens if I don't say that? That person wanders off. And now they've got, well, they wouldn't call him Rudolph. What would you call him with the yellow nose? Mustard nose. There you go. So, that was funny. I'm sorry, I have to get my mixed, mixed messages queued up. So a friend says to a friend, so does a friend say that to a friend in public? Yeah, the mustard, you have the signal, right? You have, But do you say, hey, you stupid idiot, stop saying this thing, if the person's running off and doing something rude? How do you correct a person? There's a management term. Correct in private, praise in public, yes. So sometimes you can't just say, stop being a jerk. You have to send people signals and intonation and body language and all, Romans 12:9. Oh, wait a minute, 27:6. I'm sorry. Did we get 27:6? Was that it? Thank you. Romans 12:9.
Let love be genuine, abhor what is evil, hold fast to what is good.
Let love be genuine,
Abhor evil,
abhor evil, and
hold fast to what is good.
hold fast.
This is that Romans 12. If you want to read like the latter half of Romans 12, that I'm kind of leaning of getting off of Hebrews 10:24, and I'm really liking Romans 12, but I got to pick some verses that narrow it down. Empathy. I understand what you're saying. Please tell me more. See the world through your friend's eyes, perspective, lens. How do you know where your friend's perspective is coming from? Unless you know something about their past, their history, their personality, family. My friend who's known me for 45 years and has stuck closer than a brother tells me I have mustard on my nose every once in a while, which he says it in a kind way instead of an unkind way. And that's important also. So knowing a person's background, what's happened to them, you can put things in context and suffer through some bad things because you know something happened or something is about to happen. You know, they're going to get laid off because the company's moving to Zimbabwe. We have been given our nature, and our lenses are shaped with our experiences. So that's the nurture-nature debate. I'm going with both in my observation. I may be wrong. And I think you're born with a certain set of predilections is the word I love, but it means tendencies. But then things happen to you as you travel through life, and then that shapes how you react to those things, right? So that's the nurture, the experience versus who you are naturally.
Don't we kind of call that filters? You filter things different than I do.
Yeah, the current psychological term is lenses. They have an entire, if you type in lenses, psychological lenses, there's a large body of work. That's the current thing. But yes, that is exactly right. How do you see how do they see situations? How does that differ from mine? There's 3 views of a situation. A very wise person told me when 2 people are together. There's one person's view, the other person's view, and God's view. So the closer you get to God, hopefully it's a godly view. By the way, so when someone wants to say something not nice about someone, does that person generally say the whole story? Uh-oh, so now you have 2 views and there's something missing. Yeah, that's what God watched the whole thing and he just shook his head. So am I wired to see things through my head, XOR heart? By the way, XOR is a programming term. It's an exclusive OR, which means you can analyze it, but you tend to not feel it. Or you can feel it, but you tend to not analyze it. So it's exclusive. You can have one or the other, but you can't have both, correct? So, by the way, I was told in college, now women don't hit me, because I've observed it to be mostly true, but you can hit me with your looks. Women feel, men think. So that is generalization that I could probably get laser looks from. Okay. Oh, John, you're up. Romans 12, 15 through 18.
Continuing 12. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another.
Oh, that looks easy on TV.
Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited.
What verses was that?
That's Romans, under empathy. Romans, oh, you don't have a sheet?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
12,
15 to 18. Yeah, thanks for asking. By the way, if you want to look up that and all the verses, Rick Warren has an entire write-up on living. If it is up to you, live at peace with everyone. Wait a minute. If it is up to you. It is up to you to how you deal with it. It's not always up to you how the other person deals with it. But if it's up to you, live at peace. And by the way, a lot of these admonitions that are in the Bible, I see a parenthesis that say, good luck with that. Oh no, the interwebs are going to kill me on that one. See you, Phil. Phil had to leave early. It wasn't something I said or didn't say this time. This time. 1 Peter 3:8, and it's actually through 9. Rick? I thought you memorized the verse by now. I know. And it went up to the other part of the app, and then now you have to get... Okay. Have I vamped long enough?
What did I say earlier today? I hate computers. Okay, finally, all of you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, a tender heart, and a humble mind. Do not repay evil for evil, or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless, for to this you are called, that you may obtain a blessing. So anybody who wants to know what they were called for?
That's one thing. There's a list. So if someone hammers you, as one friend of mine said, you were a verbal punching bag for the moment, what am I going to do? Punch back? But I want to.
Then you will.
Well, how do I not?
If you're a guy or a woman, how are you going to respond?
That's actually not true. That's actually not true. It is a generalization. So how? Yeah, but I want it now. I don't care about the vengeance verse.
Well, then you have one of the fruit of the Holy Spirit is patience.
Patience is also persistence, and I'm persisting by punching back.
Bless them real hard.
Well, at that, whoa, Kendra, bless them real hard is what she said. So, how do I take that stuff that the world and even Christians do and return grace?
By not responding. If you respond, then you give back what you've been given. If you're not responding, then you might
Or it's how you respond, yeah.
Well, you might be responding to what you got from God, not to what you've been dished out. Like, if someone's really angry and mad, a lot of times they're hurt.
Yeah.
So if someone yells at you and starts, you might say, "What's wrong?" You know,
You mean listen to them?
I mean, you're not responding the way they're doing it. You're giving them what you got from God.
It's interesting, Gottman says that men need to know that women need to talk about things. And it's interesting, he actually has a video, and I have to act it out because it's really good. So he says to his wife, "Tell me, how did your day go?" I mean, he's getting blasted, and he says, "Okay, tell me more." It's a great video. So, there's another book. I was thinking about teaching one of these books, and if you want to look at them, that's good to look at them. I've taught all of them except the 101 questions, or this one. Yes, Tina. Thank you.
So, when you have somebody that's upset or blasting you, like you said, so one thing you could do is ask them a question, and back into their reasonable brain, because if a person is too emotional, they won't be able to communicate with you well anyway.
You have to ask a non-emotional question. Yeah. In having a good fight, which I taught, I like to ask them, what's 5 divided by 8? That's metric conversions, or 8 divided. And then all of a sudden, you snap out of the fight or flight, and you go to your logical brain. I do that sometimes to myself, and sometimes I just don't respond to people and let them vent. So we're not supposed to repay evil for evil.
And that's exactly what this is here under Romans 12:14. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them.
And there's in this Romans 12 through 14, look at the 15. This is the part, I don't quite get this part, because it puts heaping coals on them. Well, wait a minute, you just did it for the wrong motivation. So I don't know.
Would you like to hear that?
No. Did I paraphrase it fairly well?
Be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep.
Keep going.
Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all.
Oh,
I said over here.
yeah, John. There's one of the verses that talks about if you're nice to someone, you put heaping coals on their heads, and it's following one of the verses that I've passed out.
Romans 12:20.
Yeah, yeah. So that Romans 12 is a great chapter. I'm kind of liking it. Okay, who has C.S. Lewis? Kathy.
Isn't it funny how day by day nothing changes, but when you look back, everything is different?
Okay, now we've transitioned to the rules for successful communication. I've got a slide question. Anybody know where this is?
Carlsbad. Yeah.
Carlsbad. And what is that structure hanging down?
Height.
Yeah, but it has a name.
Crystal. I don't.
It's called Lion's Tail. So, anyone know where this is? This was the Myers-Briggs Who Are You? I'm not good at my slides. No one's going to get it. Excuse me, pardon me. No,
Where is it? Is that what you know?
it's in Tejas.
House?
Tejas, Texas. For you northerners. No one's going to get it. It's McKittrick Canyon. Very good guess. That's one national park. What's the other national park? South of Carlsbad. Between Carlsbad and El Paso.
Big Ben?
Big Bend. No. Big Bend is 350 miles south of
Yeah.
Carlsbad. This,
Observatory's at, but I don't remember.
if you go past Carlsbad like 25 miles, it's there.
Is it where those guys got lost and died?
No. It's Guadalupe National Park, and this is McKittrick Canyon. Okay? What does it take to show someone else warmth, genuineness, and empathy? Does anyone know where this is?
Is it also New Mexico?
Nope.
There's a mesa, someplace in New Mexico?
No, not New Mexico. Not Utah. Not Colorado. Not Oregon. You're going to be floored. Look at the amount of snow down there. Nope. It's south of El Paso. Big Bend National Park. I was there one Christmas and it had snowed about a foot of snow. My car was rocking as I was sleeping in it at night and I couldn't see anything, and I realized that it had caked up with snow, and it was I have a lot of wonderful pictures. You see the trees are in the United States. This is the Rio Grande. You can kind of see it here. And this is Mexico. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if anyone knows where this is, not Joshua Tree. Where? What park? Nope. It's a park. Nope. Can't be Grand Canyon. Too high. Too cold. No. Too high. Too cold. So obviously this is a saguaro cactus. Some people call them saguaro, but I like to mangle it. And you'll notice the saguaro cactus is praying. And I'm down here praying with it. And it's putting its hand on my head because he likes me praying. So, Saguaro National Park. By the way, all saguaros in the world are from Tucson to a little bit north of Phoenix. They ain't nowhere else. And it doesn't go very wide. Okay. So, how do you communicate to other people? Here's some rules that they have. Say I words, not you words. What does a you word do to the other person? Defensive. Yeah.
If you say I, though, then
Oh, I think you're a jerk. I said an I word. Can I tweet?
It's me, it's not you.
So, no, how do you say the I words? Someone does something wrong to you. What do you say? No, you can't do the you because that cuts off the communication. I feel hurt. Yeah. Or it was so wild, talk about the action, not the person. That conversation was so wild that I just shut down because it was not safe to say anything. There's ways to have I statements and not you statements. I statements tell about a person how they feel or think with the I statement. And it dispenses information to be understood that can elicit concern and empathy so the dialogue can continue. By the way, there's we're not going to teach the books, but at Los Alamos they teach critical conversations and confrontations. It's 2 books. And these are people who have been in every major corporation. They find the people in the corporation who can ask the hard words without alienating everybody. And those are the people that tend to drive the company forward. They found out there's a whole set of characteristics that they have to be influencers, but not be confrontational, or they can be confrontational. One guy was moving the company to 3 places and asked everybody what 3 places, had a list of 3, and he was already bought a house in another place, one of the 3. Everybody knew it was, you were moving there. It's a done deal. Well, the guy asked, well, you've already bought a house at this place. What does that mean with all these choices? Why ask this question? The guy was actually able to start a dialogue that was shut down for months. Okay, another behavior is reflective listening. You guys are very good reflective listeners. You interrupt me a lot. And that's a good thing.
I hear you saying that we interrupt you a lot.
God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's a good ratio.
God wanted me to let you know.
I got God's word for you. You owe me $100. Hearing is passive and listening is active. Have everyone who knows about the feedback loop? Say, hear, repeat. Now, you don't just parrot back the words. I have a good enough memory I could parrot back things that, for years. Well, does that actually mean you're listening? No, that means you're a parrot. If you can rephrase it how those words mean to what they mean to me, then hopefully the other person will know that you understand them. If you can't get that feedback working, you're probably not listening. So it says you're supposed to communicate with a 3rd ear, is listening for what is really being said. I like you. Words, intonation. Does that sound like I like you? No. So listen with that. Now, by the way, on all these communication things, I'm actually perfect, but I'm glad everybody's laughing. And I'm still practicing, and I hopefully mean well. If you really listen, the other person thinks, what? If I'm repeating back, rephrasing what people have said, I care. And I've actually listened, and I've translated it into my 2 little brain cells, and this is how I see it. Am I getting that right? And then, by the way, the feedback loop could and should go on forever. Not on all the same topic, but for close friends, you hang in there when people do the silliest things.
I think it's validating, and we all want to be validated.
Especially women. I understand how you feel. I've got that from the book. How am I doing? How am I doing?
You're shooting yourself.
I'm practicing for when it becomes real. I appreciate how you feel, Rick. That's for the interwebs. When at a loss, this is a coping mechanism that they've developed. When at a loss, make sure you really want to listen and understand, and ask these. They have two specific questions, and the James and Proverbs, get ready, because people like to be queued up. Tell me more about work, that situation at work, or that situation with the family. And if you don't know, be honest and say, "Oh, man, could you help me understand?" What, was that too natural, Kathy, for me to say that? James 1, 19 and 20.
Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of a man does not produce the righteousness of God.
The listening part I have problems with, and I don't like that in me, and I want to be a better person. And I will be tomorrow. Proverbs 11:22.
I have that. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without discretion.
What does that mean?
Thanks, Lord. I really appreciate that. You gave me this verse and I'm just going.
Wait. He is not telling the whole story. I had two, and I said pick one.
Right.
So I did not give it to him. That's not exactly.
I just ended up with this verse.
And I'm doing this in a kind way.
Yes, you are.
Intonation.
The structure of the verse equates the gold ring with the beautiful woman, the intrinsic value of a beautiful woman. But the pig snout, a gold ring and a pig snout have nothing to do with each other. They should have nothing to do with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we add a lack of discretion to any person, right, it's like putting a gold ring in a pig snout. They shouldn't have anything to do with each other. Does that make sort of sense?
So Focus on the Family said when you share something personal with somebody, do two things. You know, they have these guest speakers who are experts in the whole wide world on things. And they said there are two things. I did not have the second until I heard this about a year and a half ago. When you're discussing personal things, hopefully it's with a godly person, because that person will be able to speak into your life in a godly way, and godly topic, and godly verses, and all that stuff. They also said that they're discreet. My rule of thumb is if it's said out in a whole table, it's kind of fair game, but probably I don't think maybe should be. I'm rethinking that. Because some people may say something at the restaurant table that, you know, they assumed it was just the group. If it's one-on-one, as far as I'm concerned, that conversation doesn't go outside. That's just my personal measure. Understanding and acceptance. The differences between men and women. I already taught on the differences between men and women. I have the notes. If I have a couple copies of notes with good references on the back. On the all the 15-point dog tests are here. It's a joke. I have Myers-Briggs, spiritual gifts, 5 love language test, and human metrics, which is the DISC test, which is how you do, how you decide to how you make decisions. They also add that men report and solve problems. That's our main focus. Women want to have rapport, I don't know why, and share feelings. See, intonation. I'm practicing. I'm getting better at this. By the way, if you're in the wrong conversation with somebody, say it. And I'm going to just say this to the women. I'm a guy. I'm slow, but I'm not stupid. I don't look for hints like hints. Just say it. I smell flesh burning. Is that mine?
How's that working for you?
Actually, quite well. By the way, the other thing in there that I thought was really a wow to me on the differences, not in here, was the 75% rule. Men speak 75% in public and 25% in private. Women speak 75% in private and 25% in public. Broad brush, but probably has some truth. Please don't attack me.
Email to Doug.
Send email to, well, yeah. Doug wants to know all about this. Apologize. The next bullet item. Apologize when necessary and mean it. John, can I borrow you for a second? No, just stay there. This is not going to hurt at all. I'm going to stop. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Was I sorry? Some people are like, sorry.
I can forgive you, but should I allow you to keep poking me?
Question for the audience. How do you tell me to stop? Doug.
How many want me to kick him?
Thanks, Greg. He's back there raising his hand. Mean it. You didn't fill the car up with gas and I need to go on a long drive. What do you say? Oh, yeah. Cindy, hold on. Let me get this on the interwebs. So, I grew up, okay, so this is some of my history. I grew up, I said, Mom, can I have the ketchup? And her question was a lot like Cindy's. Would you break your legs? So, that may not engender good communication. It may cause walls, defensiveness. I can see people mixing the mortar right now to lay the bricks for the wall. So, Kendra, do you want to put that on the interwebs? I didn't think so. So, what do you say when you did something wrong? I committed to do that. I had all these things. That's a lame excuse. I want to do better. I'm Greg. Okay, people needed to ask Greg what he said. Gracefully apologize. Grace meaning giving grace. I am sorry, and I will do better. And something that I've found that helps me, but I don't use it enough, is could you help me be better? You know, remind me on the way out the door. Don't harp on me, men or women. Is a curtsy, a graceful apology is a curtsy to civility and a powerful tool to resolving issues and strengthening relationships. Insincerity is manipulation to dodge accountability and blocks real change. So remember I mentioned the two books? Critical conversations, that's, what are we going to do, where are we going to go? Confrontations is, I hired you to do this thing and you're talking on the phone 90% of the time. We have to see a change in behavior. By the way, taming the tongue, if you want to smell flesh burning, just read this. Don't read it before you go to bed. It's not one of those books. It covers all the different things that the tongue says and has like 5 or 6 verses for each of them. My group hated this book so much that I was going to teach 4 a week so we could finish it earlier. They asked me to slow down and teach 3 a week because there was so much there and they wanted to talk about. Because they saw this in other people. Oh. Get offline. Interruptions. Oh, there's an interruption study. I'm sorry, women, you're not going to like one of the 3 points that I found interesting. One point is, depending on how complicated the task, you're 60 to 40% less efficient when you get interrupted. That's not a good thing. The interesting thing, there's 2 really interesting things. One is that a person was given a task, was told they were going to be interrupted, and there was almost no change in the loss of efficiency. It was almost the same inefficiency. Just knowing you're going to be interrupted causes you to lose context, really, and you're always waiting for the thing that never came. Oh, by the way, men and women are, well, I forget the exact number, 3 to 5% different. So men and women multitask at exactly the same efficiency. University of California, it's Southern. I think it's San Diego, but I'm not sure. By the way, do you know why they did this? Has anyone ever used one of these while driving? John, wow, you are a repentant person. I see a halo starting to glow a little bit brighter. You lose efficiency going to the phone and even just talking. Do you realize, this is New Mexico, they have a graduated license for new drivers. The graduated license does not allow another person, teenager, I think they specify age, in the car when your teenager is driving at the same time. Yeah. Well, by the way, as adults, they may be 60% less efficient, and we are way superior. Our brains as adults are way superior. I'm probably only 40% less efficient driving a 3,000-pound vehicle at 70 miles an hour. Was that a good idea? Okay, here's the last one, and then I have a couple of yakking points. Communication through touch. If you're in a close relationship, the communication through touch is a good thing. Dating, marriage, in private. In my group in Albuquerque, we had one guy who was putting his hands on the inner thigh of his person he was dating, and I had to talk and say, if you could kind of hold off for an hour, that would be nice. It makes other people, why, he said. And I said it makes other people feel uncomfortable because we don't have someone and that's uncomfortable. It tends to be good for women. Men can see it as a put down. Oh, John, why am I picking on you so much? You can take it because you're perfect. He's staring at me in total disbelief for the interwebs. A woman touching a guy and say, "Oh, I understand," or a guy especially. Wow, that'd be really bad. But a woman saying, "Oh, I understand," I'm thinking like, that's not a good thing. So men can see that as a put down in certain situations. Okay, so up here I have my notes and references, which I did not pass out. I have my full set of all the words that I'm using on my pages, which has all the verses and everything. I assumed they'd be 3 people who would want all that. If I'm wrong, write your name here, and I will make sure I print it when I get new toner, and bring it, and make sure you get it. But write your name, because I only have those 2 little brain cells, and they're working on other things right now. So also I have the notes. I have full notes. Myers-Briggs, How You'll Fall in Love. On the second page, based on your personality type. On the second page, there's a link to 16 personalities. They talk about high functioning, low functioning. We talked about that last week. I like adventure. I can do it in a way that is responsible. Evel Knievel may not be a good example of seeking adventure in a safe way. So the Myers-Briggs, when you get that, again, get the percentages. I also have, what do you talk about on a potential date? Oh, wait a second. There's a secular psychologist, has 36 questions to falling in love. They're progressively more. But they actually someone asked me, how do you find out the heart of a person? 101 questions is good. That's a lot. And those questions are not easy. These are a lot easier. Is that a comment that should be shared? No? Okay. The first question, given a choice of anyone in the world, whom, oh wow, proper grammar. Whom would you want as a dinner guest? And it goes into more. Oh. Never mind. Let's see what else. Oh, finding out who you are, the Myers-Briggs, and I also have a spiritual gifts, and it's actually the how do you do it, the test, and the scoring. If you don't know what your gifts are, that might be good. And I have a Max Lucado write-up. I condensed it to one page, and it's how to defeat the tongue in about 60 easy words. And it's like instantaneous. I read this, I was done.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. If you believe that, I got something to sell you. Okay? I'm thinking about maybe starting what I would call a speakers guild. And that is, if somebody wants to maybe help teach one of these books, let me know. If you have suggestions on books. Before I taught in Albuquerque, I was given about 5 to 6 books by my group. I went out and bought the Audible or the CD, and I listened to them. Some of them came from Focus on the Family. Some of these are better, in my not-so-humble opinion. I know John used to work at Focus, so I have to stand away so he doesn't kick me again. So if you want to help me research and help people and teach, let me know, and we'll work together to give maybe a consistent set of topics that it's like, well, what am I going to speak on? Pick a chapter in here. They're all really good. So the other thing is, how does someone come to the Bible study? You're already on chapter 4, so I can't come. I bought books on CD, passed them out in a week driving around town. You're going to hear it. And then you hand it back to me for the next person. I kept track of who was where in the queue in my head, so you can never miss it. If you want to come and look at the books, you're welcome to do that. So now, you're all in big trouble. Why?
Because we're now all experts on communication.
I like Rick's, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking Doug's. You now know it all. You can't make a mistake. You have to be perfect. What happens? Well, wait a minute, woman at the well. Jesus said your sins are forgiven. Go and sin no more. Good luck with that. Why not? Why not try? Give it a go. That's your homework. I didn't think about the homework one. I like giving homework to other people. So, no. Well, everybody else, yes. No, the challenge, I already had the challenge. So, if you want to help with it, ask each other. Don't ask me. I mean, I jokingly said I was perfect. For the interwebs, I was shaking my head vehemently no. Could you give me some grace when I mess up? I'd like to give you some. Shall we pray? God, help us to be perfect in you. You know that we're struggling in all kind of ways. Stress, communications, and not being so perfect. Fill our lives to give grace to others even when they don't give it back. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.